Thank you for joining me, Diana Master, on NMH at 1, where we highlight the news making waves in Namibia and beyond, ranging from current affairs, community stories, sports and economic news. Coming up in this broadcast, ex-mineworkers demand benefits from NMH. Pressure mounts on Mbumba to reject anti-gay bill, and Rapist appeals exaggerated sentence. Follow all our programs on 1up2.com, DSTV channel 285 and GoTV channel 25 in Namibia. Stay with us, midday news update coming right up. Sarah Ngumba, Director of Namibia Library and Archive Services, speaks on the concerning state of Namibian libraries. The main shortcomings are a lack of infrastructure, qualified librarians, and access to the internet. This video is courtesy of Aldo Horn.
There's a total number of 1,713 government schools in Namibia. What's about to follow is shocking. Only 164 schools are recorded to have functional libraries. It means a total number of 1,549 schools are without school libraries. The school libraries are manned by librarians at the level of senior librarians, and assistant librarians. Currently, only a total number of 47 professional librarians that are at the school across the entire country. In 2018, we have a total number of 222,000 books that are circulating in libraries. In 2023, we had a total number of 23,000. The situation in schools is concerning, and this is caused by a number of challenges. We are indicating inadequate infrastructure. The schools are experiencing insufficient and outdated materials. The shortage of qualified librarians at school libraries. The current situation is that many school libraries don't have access to computers. There is no internet.
Visual News highlights local stories from across Namibia right after the break. Stay with NMH at 1.
Voting now open. The Best of 061 Express Followers' Choice Awards. By voting, you stand a chance to win your share of 50,000 Namibian dollars in cash. From the 4th to the 23rd of June 2024. Do you know the best of the best in Windhoek? It's time to recognize them. Living in Windhoek, DIY home improvement. Glam it up, eating out, food, drinks and be merry. Services, automotive, shopping, babies and kids, and travel and leisure. To vote, save the number 085 785 6231 and WhatsApp hashtag 061 Express or scan the QR code.
And now getting into today's visual news clips. As part of their efforts to maintain close media communication, the Chinese ambassador to Namibia, Zhao Weiping, hosted the first press meeting of the year at the embassy yesterday, where he gave an update on the current status of the Chinese-Namibia relations and the Chinese economy. Weiping talks about the current status in the areas of trade and economic cooperation. This video is courtesy of Mario Ngola.
In the areas of trade and economic cooperation, we also have good news to report. For several consecutive years, China has been the largest source of investment for Namibia and also its second largest trading partner. In 2023, last year, bilateral trade volume exceeded $1.3 billion for the first time. China's direct investment in Namibia accounts for nearly 30% of the total FDI Namibia has received. And there are currently over 50 Chinese enterprises investing and operating in Namibia. The Hussein and Rosin uraniums are doing well last year, and also currently they're doing well. The construction of the lithium processing plant of Xinfeng Company is completed, which is expected to start production later this year. As you may already know, Chinese companies are proceeding forward with the acquisition of Twin Hills Gold Mine and the Tsumeb smelter in Namibia. Since the beginning of this year, an increasing number of Chinese companies have approached the embassy and expressed their interest in seeking investment opportunities in Namibia.
Stay with us right after this. The Namibian Sun leads us into our newspaper review segment. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. We now take a look at what the lead stories are in Namibia's daily newspapers. The Namibian Sun reports that SWAPO member Paulos Hakalume, who claimed that a woman in a viral photo who seems to be receiving a membership card of opposition party Independent Patriots for Change is former SWAPO Secretary General Pendukeni Ivulaithana, said he will decide whether to retract his statement once he has received a lawyer's letter in which the ex-minister is threatening to sue him. The former Justice Minister, through lawyer Kadila Amomo, gave Hakalume until 20 June to publicly retract his claims, including calling Ivulaithana a hibernator in SWAPO or face a lawsuit of 300,000 Namibian dollars. On page 3, a man who was sentenced to 20 years in prison on 2 charges of rape and 6 months for attempted murder is appealing his conviction and sentence in the Windhoek High Court. Alfred Greenwood has argued that the magistrate exaggerated the seriousness of his offence. Sentenced in July 2023, he argued that Magistrate Gaynor Poulton failed to consider the fact that a medical examination of the victim showed no evidence of sexual assault. He further argued that the victim could not remember the exact dates when the rapes took place. According to the Namibian, Greenwood was found guilty of sexually assaulting a 26-year-old female security guard at a Swakopmund security company where he served as her supervisor. The rapes took place in November of 2019. On the front page of the Republican, the purchase agreement between Dundee Precious Metals and China's Sinomine Resources Group for the ownership of the copper smelter on Tsumeb is in the spotlight once again. The Namibian Competition Commission has yet to approve the sales transaction. On page 3, various discrepancies were revealed in an interim report by the legal representative of the Walvis Bay municipality into the appointment of Red Force Debt Management CC as the exclusive debt collector for the entity. This includes potential disciplinary and criminal charges against suspended finance manager Frans Gonteb and revenue and credit control manager Johanna Shidute. Furthermore, the report highlights flaws in the tender process, including exceeding financial thresholds and conflict of interest. Richard Metcalf of Metcalf Beekers attorneys explained that following protests by residents relating to Red Force activities, the town council unanimously resolved to terminate the services of the debt collector on the 23rd of April 2024. Moving over to the Allgemeine Zeitung, on its front page, the Ministry of Higher Education, Technology and Innovation has presented an ambitious bioeconomy strategy. The aim is to make the country's natural bioresources economically viable without harming the environment. The development of the strategy paper was initiated by the establishment of the Multi-Sectoral Bioeconomy Working Group, an association of 9 ministries, 5 private companies, 10 non-governmental organizations, as well as public companies and higher education institutions. Over the next 5 years, the focus will be on the areas of agriculture, health and resource management. On the paper's page 2, the High Court found that an application by the accused in the fish rod corruption scandal against their relocation within the Windhoek Central Prison from a solitary confinement wing to a communal wing did not amount to an urgent application. The complaints raised by the plaintiffs accused in the fish rod corruption scandal about the decision to transfer them concerns every remand prisoner who was transferred from a solitary cell to a communal cell. Judge Bososiku said this in the Windhoek High Court yesterday when he dismissed an urgent application by some of the fish rod accused. We'll now take a quick ad break and return with our newspaper review segment. Getting into the second half of our newspaper review segment, the Namibian newspaper reports that the Namibia Equal Rights Movement has compiled more than 5,000 signatures in a petition to ask President Mbumba to reject the passing of the anti-gay bill. The anti-lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex and other LGBTQI+ bill was tabled in Parliament last year. According to a statement sent to the Namibian yesterday by Equal Namibia co-founder and campaign manager Oman van Rienen, the LGBTQI+ bill is unconstitutional and should be rejected. According to the paper's page 3, BH Properties, owned by businessman Ben Hawanga, has only delivered 3 houses out of 506 2 years after acquiring the land to build houses at the Mbumba location in Oshakati. The construction of the 3 houses and a few that are still at the ground levels started in May last year. Hawanga told the Namibian yesterday that the construction of additional houses would start tomorrow. He said the construction of the houses stopped because there was a disagreement between the town council and the owners of the traditional homesteads in the vicinity. The New Era's lead story reports that the proverbial Namibian political ground is pregnant and ready to deliver victories in SWAPO and Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah in November's presidential and National Assembly elections, a confident Amos Amukwiyu asserts. The outspoken SWAPO coordinator for the Oshikoto region made these remarks in an interview. On page 3, for 27 years now, members of the Association of Mine Workers Beneficiaries Namibia have awaited to derive benefits from the Namibia Miners Investment Trust Fund. This came to light during last week's demonstration by Ambena from the Katutura Community Arts Center to the offices of the Mine Workers Union of Namibia, where they handed over a petition against the Namibia Mine Workers Investment Holdings Company. According to Ismail Arayeb, MUN deducted 600,000 Namibian dollars from them to start up the trust fund in 1997. The fund was supposed to ensure their livelihood in cases of unemployment, injury, and retirement. Now, according to MarketWatch, national telecommunications operator Telecom Namibia has agreed with Sparkle, Italy's first international service provider. The partnership involves the provision of capacity services on the Equano submarine cable, which links Portugal to South Africa. This move is set to provide a diversified, low-latency route between Africa and Europe, supporting Namibia's digital development and the increasing data demand from neighboring countries. Telecom CEO Dr. Stanley Shanapinda expressed his enthusiasm about the partnership, saying, "We are thrilled to partner with Sparkle to leverage the Equano cable's advanced capabilities." Stick around after the break, we bring you economic news. In today's economic news, aviation leaders will convene next week for the Aviation Development Africa Conference to forge strategic partnerships and explore opportunities for establishing new air routes across the continent. According to the Namibian Airports Company, the conference will bring together key influential stakeholders such as airlines, airports, tourism boards, government officials, and industry experts. The conference, which is hosted by the NAC, is said to be the largest ever, with over 35 airlines and 400 participants confirmed to attend. Better connected African countries and regions through a successful air transport industry can be a driver for increased commerce, trade, tourism, and cultural exchange, which is what we all live for, said NAC CEO Busy Uirab. He added that the conference serves as a critical platform for collaboration within the African aviation sector. This focus on connectivity aligns with the goals of the Yamoussoukro decision, which aims to create a single air transport market in Africa. Now let's take a look at the economic indicators just before we bring you African news. $23 Namibian dollars and 73 cents gets you 1 British pound, 20 Namibian dollars and 3 cents gets you 1 euro, 80 Namibian dollars and 64 cents 1 US dollar, and 2 Namibian dollars and 57 cents buys you 1 Chinese yuan. First Rand Namibia Limited stocks are down by 0.50%, while Letsego Holdings and Namibia Breweries Limited stocks are up by 2.50% and 0.03% respectively. All commodities are down save for Brent crude oil, which went up by 0.70%, now trading at $82.92 per barrel. Local index closed on an upturn of 0.12%, while overall index closed on a downturn of 0.05%. We now expand beyond Namibia's borders to give you the latest news from the African continent here on NMH at 1, but first a quick ad break.
The Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, in collaboration with the Namibia Tourism Board and the Ondonga Traditional Authority, will be hosting the Itotha Carnival at the Kangonde Salt Pan in the Oshikoto region from 27 June to 1st July 2024. Expect a fun-filled weekend including traditional dishes, cookout competitions, totem parades, traditional games, horse riding, skydiving and quad biking. Accommodation facilities will be available at cost. The Itotha Carnival, celebrating our ancient heritage.
In news from Africa, the party led by South Africa's former president Jacob Zuma has asked the country's highest court to stop the newly elected National Assembly from sitting for the first time on Friday. It is a key date because that is when members of parliament are due to vote for the country's president. But Zuma's Umkhonto weSizwe party is boycotting the session, claiming there were irregularities in last month's general election, although it has not provided evidence to support this. Zuma, a former ANC leader, is an ally turned enemy of President Cyril Ramaphosa, was seeking a second term. Ramaphosa is the leader of the African National Congress, which lost its parliamentary majority for the first time since it took power at the end of the racist system of apartheid in 1994. The ANC won 40% of the vote, not enough to govern alone. It is now involved in talks with other parties as it scrambles to form a government of national unity. Zuma blames Ramaphosa for ousting him as president in 2018 when the party removed him, partly because of corruption allegations. Last December, Zuma announced that he would be campaigning for MK. Stick around. Right after this, we get into our international news. US President Joe Biden has said he will respect a jury's decision to find his son guilty of gun crimes after a week-long trial that laid bare a tumultuous time for the family. The 12-person jury found Hunter Biden, 54, guilty of lying about his drug use on a form while purchasing a handgun in 2018. He faces possible jail time following the verdict, which marked the first criminal prosecution of a sitting president's child. His conviction on all 3 felony counts comes as President Biden campaigns for re-election in November and less than 2 weeks after his election rival Donald Trump was himself convicted of a crime in New York. While President Biden did not attend the trial in Delaware, many family members, including First Lady Jill Biden, did so regularly. Hunter Biden's wife, sister, and uncle were all present at times to support him during the proceedings. President Biden flew to Wilmington, Delaware after the verdict, where he greeted and hugged his son on the tarmac. Stick around, we'll now take a quick ad break and get into our local and international sports news when we return.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
Starting off our local sports news, the Desert Jewels showed there are no pushovers as they overcame their underdog tag and slow start to the Pacific Netball Series with a stunning 45-51 success over Tonga in Brisbane, Australia yesterday. Namibia's top mountain bike riders have been in great form at the Swissby Cup Series currently taking place in Switzerland. Namibia's top senior male rider and top juniors made their mark against some of the top MTB riders in the world. And Namibia Football Association President Shimoshili did not mince his words when he called for long-serving personnel within the association to step aside and make way for fresh talent. He said that while he does not intend to dismantle the team entirely, he believes it is time for those who have served long to move on. Stay with us. Right after this, we get into international sports news. Feyenoord Rotterdam have signed a 3-year contract with Sparta Prague's Brian Priske to take over as coach after Arne Slot left for Liverpool. Australia marched into the Super 8 of the T20 World Cup with a 9-wicket demolition of Namibia at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium in Antigua on Tuesday. And closing off international sports news, Rory McIlroy improved his finishing position each of the past 5 US Opens, culminating with a second place last year in Los Angeles when Wyndham Clark took home the trophy. If you're just joining us, this is NMH at 1, and we'll get into the highlights from today's broadcast right after this break.
Hi, Kambaripa.
Hi, Melissa.
You look upset. Is everything okay?
A healthcare worker refused to attend to me because I visited the healthcare facility without a guardian.
Healthcare workers are not allowed to do that. This sounds like a job for your shield of survival.
Huh?
Your rights, they're your superpowers. Your shield of survival is your right to life, health, nutrition, shelter, and an adequate standard of living.
For more information, contact the Children's Advocate Namibia in the Office of the Ombudsman on 061 20 73 111. Send us an SMS on 20401. SMS costs 40 cents. You can also send us a message via our Facebook page. Remember, the services of the Children's Advocate are free of charge.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraika. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and
Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. If you're just joining us, or for those of you that need a quick recap, let's take a look at the highlights from today's broadcast. In African news, the party led by South Africa's former president Jacob Zuma has asked the country's highest court to stop the newly elected National Assembly from sitting for the first time on Friday. In international news, US President Joe Biden has said he will respect a jury's decision to find his son guilty of gun crimes after a week-long trial that laid bare a tumultuous time for the family. And in local sports news, the Desert Jewels showed there are no pushovers as they overcame their underdog tag and slow start to the Pacific Netball Series with a stunning 45-51 success over Tonga in Brisbane, Australia yesterday. Those have been your highlights. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. to spend your lunch hour catching up on the latest news in Namibia and beyond. I am Diana Master, and this has been NMH at 1.